So I still have a couple things I wanted to talk about Augustine before we moved on, but please feel free to think of yourself as a monk. Even the darkness is kind of important, because they wouldn't have had incandescent lights or these fluorescent lights. They wouldn't have had any of that. So don't get me in trouble for printing off pages from copyrighted coloring books, but teacher privilege, right? For academic use, whatever. But so that's. By the way, at the end of class, if you want to keep them, that's fine. Some people have given them to me, but I don't really have room to decorate my office. My professor, who taught Middle Ages philosophy course, did in fact collect them and decorated his office. So, and by the way, he required us to buy our own coloring books. So I'm saving you by printing off copies of them.
I have 3.
From Middle Ages?
No, 3 coloring books. Very different. Very.
One of my kids bought me a Harry Potter coloring book for
Harry
adults.
Potter books. It's great.
But the ones I
Brandon,
bought
don't
are all
look so
Middle Ages.
disappointed in me.
I think it's gone all the way around.
It's gone over. I don't use it, of course. Can you imagine getting beer stains on this cute little piece of cardboard? But, okay, so hopefully I set the atmosphere right. You've got Gregorian chant playing, and you're in the dark, and you're trying to color letter, scriptural decorations. Because of course we don't have printing press yet. Gutenberg is going to come up with that. It's really quite an interesting history of how they came up with the idea of movable type, and did he actually steal the idea from another friend?
I think it's ironic how the same building that they used to print out the Bibles when they first started doing that was the house of a guy who said that Christianity wasn't going to last another 100 years and that it would go extinct. And then that was the building they used to print Bibles. I find that very ironic.
Well, it wasn't until 2000 something that another book finally outsold the Bible in a year, and that was one of the Harry Potter books. I think it was book 3 outsold
The
Bibles.
Prisoner of Azkaban?
I think so.
I think it's ironic also that it's a wizardry book. Basically, that outsold.
Well, I think a lot of the copies of the book sold to people who burned them.
Which I think is silly, because J.K. Rowling gets the money either way.
Well, exactly. But this was indicative of the level of thought processes going on in the people that were burning those books. They had to go out and buy the books in order to burn them. They couldn't go from house to house and break in and steal all the books that people had. The Germans did that. But that was Kristallnacht. So, Augustine. There's a couple things. Original sin. I think I promised to talk about original sin. I showed you my milk bottle thing when I was a kid, right? And Augustine is the one that comes up with this. Remember Adam and Eve, they have the fall. One way we anthropologically can think about this is that civilization made us fall away from a state of nature. Jared Diamond tells us it wasn't particularly pleasant, even though we like to think that civilization is so much better than the state of nature. But he points out that it seems like it was really hard, and the reason that people began farming and creating walled areas for defense because they were farming and other people were trying to steal their food was because we had become such successful hunters that we basically wiped out the game and we were basically starving. And so it was to confront the problem of starvation that we moved towards walled communities, growing grain, and specializing in different. So you're the farmer, I'm the soldier defending the fields from the enemy that are trying to steal the grain, because they're out of food too, right? That's Jared Diamond, if you're interested. His book Guns, Germs, and Steel became quite famous. He's got several others since then. Although that one I think was the biggest hit. And Collapse I think did very well also, but it was Guns, Germs, and Steel that he ended up doing TV specials. And so if you even just look up Jared Diamond, Guns, Germs, and Steel, you'll see these TV shows of him walking around in Peru and visiting Yali's Question, all that stuff. How come Europeans have so much cargo and we have so little, right, stuff? Why do European civilizations have so much stuff? Like us. Look at all the stuff we've got. We're just into stuff. Biggest problem in my house is we've had it now for over, since '87, so almost 30 years, and so we've accumulated so much stuff that basically it's very difficult to get around in the house, especially the garage and so on. You notice that's why I put free books down on the shelf in the coffee area, because I'm trying to get rid of stuff. Right? By the way, I have clothing. I have all sorts of things to get rid of if people need stuff. I asked here about bringing in clothing and stuff, and what if people get things like bed bugs and stuff? It's all new in bags, but no, they didn't want me to bring clothing. So, especially Amazon has sent me a whole bunch of bralettes, and at first I didn't even know what a bralette was. And here I am writing reviews about how comfortable it is to wear these things. Really so I do try to write the reviews in a way that it's obvious that I'm not actually wearing them myself, right? So if you go to my website, somehow I got into this thing, and with our cultural background, there's no way that stainless steel measuring spoon set, a hockey stick. By the way, that's a right-handed hockey. Anybody want a hockey stick? It's like for juniors. It's like this tall. And I have that's a right-handed one, and I have a left-handed one on the way. Since I did such a great review, look, all I said was this is a stick. So books. I mean, not everything is a freebie thing that they gave me, but I've got a whole closet full of tablecloths, all different sizes, outside, round ones, square ones, rectangular ones. This was absolutely crazy. So walnut hollow. What is it? It's this wooden thing, which when you succeed in killing a turkey, you can take the male turkey, you put the fan in the slots that are made for this, and you can hang the throat thingy from here, and there's even a place for you to put the little claws and stuff.
Do you just get stuff to review it, or do you actually buy this?
No, I get it for free. They send it to me. They send me a list, and I say, yeah, okay, I'll do that. So I might have given this to Ark or something already, but it's the thing about this is for little people, and it has a snap at the bottom, so it goes all the way, I get Spanish greeting cards, dishes, boots. I've got all these boots now.
And you write reviews for everything you get?
Yes, I wrote this one here. This is like $700 some, this thing. And so my son said, hey, save it for me. So I'm keeping that one. But it's funny, because it doesn't even have it has holes for the boots. It doesn't actually have, I guess that's the way they sell them. So notice, I just have to type what I think of it. And then they send me more. I'm actually this is actually one of the shirts they sent me for free. So some of the stuff actually I could wear. And the socks. I get socks. So it's cool. This was a puzzle. So this was really puzzling because I was trying to figure out what exactly is this thing. I was trying to figure out how you put it so that you could like look at your baby. And the thing is, you already have a rear view mirror, so you can look at your baby. This is so that when your baby is backwards, you could put it behind the baby so that you can look from your rear view mirror into this mirror to see the baby's face so that you can have an accident. Because you're looking, oh, are you happy? Poosh. As you can imagine, certainly would happen. Anybody want this jacket? I have this jacket. It's too small for me. I've tried it on. It's a nice jacket. But so I get all this stuff.
So you get like a trending wave of things, like. There you go.
I have not tried these on. What did we say? These are okay. So these are bound to be comfortable as long as they fit right. That doesn't mean that it's fitting me, right? Since they are not meant to be loose, obviously. It's kind of pants, I guess. For those that wear these sorts of undergarments, they are an excellent choice. Notice I give 5 stars to everything.
Yeah. Do you read all the books, or do you just kind of put
The
whatever?
books we kind of read, sort of. Yeah. Some of them we go like.
You can find reviews on the internet.
Yeah, but I don't know how. But so far they've given me $8,000 worth of stuff this year.
Wow, they really like you.
It's a broken.
Yeah.
Everyone I talked to about it, asked me. Well, I've been doing reviews since 2001, and I thought Amazon was a great place where I could store my book reviews, my notes on the books that I've read, so that I could remember, for one thing, which books I've already read, and stuff. Because sure enough, every once in a while I go read one, I think, wow, this is a really good one, and I notice I've underlined in it, and then I realize, oh, I'm rereading this book. So, that's how that works. But so civilization corrupts us.
Was that Voltaire who said that?
Rousseau said that.
No. I was at Voltaire, Rousseau, and I forget.
Voltaire, yes. In fact, I played earlier today. I was playing the Voice of the Wind, or whatever, the song that Pocahontas sings in
The Colors of the Wind.
The Colors of the Wind. I was playing that, and I was explaining that's like Rousseau, his philosophy that nature is pure, and civilization is a corruption of it. Well, if you go back to the fall seems to be an interpretation of what happens at the point where we begin being civilized, and now we have to have commandments. So, if you go to a primitive, primal living social unit in Amazonia or Guam or someplace, they don't have writing, and they don't have laws, they don't have written codes and things but everyone lives as part of the family. I'm sure that not everybody is happy with one another. I'm sure they have their issues, but basically, if you think, they're living in a sense like animals. Because in a sense, of course, we are animals, but something happened, and we literally took ourselves out of the state of nature and began building walls, separating ourselves bureaucratically into different social classes. And by the way, for those that are feminists and read some of the stuff on anthropology, argue that it's also at that point where males became a dominant sex, as opposed to the balance that they think might have been there, right? If you've read that, because now you have warriors, or you have a warrior class, and you have the guys that are strongest, that can protect the community against the invading foreigners. Also have discovered that they can use that same power over their actual community. And so you end up with males dominating the society instead of what might naturally be really, I think, if you think about how men and women relate, women tend to really run the oikos, the economy, right? The house, right? The Greek oikos is where we get the economy from. And if you think about it, women, the three graces, right? The women are the ones that run things. And the men just say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, right? You know, that's pretty, that's, if you want a good running oikos, that's how things ought to go, right? The guy gets his directions, go get these ingredients. You go to the store, you pick out those ingredients, you bring them home, and the wife gives you something else to go do, right? You know, that's good. It keeps you out of the house. You know, gives you something to do, and the house runs beautifully. So the fall seems to have occurred for all cultures except for those that are still living in a state of nature. And how do we explain it? Well, you know, once you have the fall, you now know the difference between right and wrong. Because you have laws that tell you if you do this, that's wrong, if you do this, that's right. So that seems to have happened. And if you grow up in such a society, guess what? You're going to grow up with the same sin that your parents had. So this is essentially the original sin.
One thing I find kind of weird, they didn't know what was right or wrong before eating the fruit. So how did they know that it was wrong to disobey God?
Well, we can certainly critique that. Augustine does not believe the story happened as actually written. Augustine absolutely convinced that these are metaphorical stories. So individuals today that read the scripture and think, we actually had a garden somewhere. They even try to figure out where this garden is, right? You know, and you know, Adam and Eve with all, you know, so all the animals and everything. Did I show you the Adam and Eve diaries of Adam and Eve? Adam's family papers. Right? That's hilarious, but it's also sensical because the story, as a metaphor, shouldn't be taken seriously. Neither should Pandora's box. There's no woman that had a box that she opened and let all the good and evil things out of it, right? Now, granted, the biblical stories can be based on actual historical events. So Noah's flood, for example, there are plenty of floods around the world. It seems pretty clear that historians are certainly going to record floods. And for them, in a location where the whole world seems to be inundated in rising water, it would certainly seem like the whole world was destroyed. But there, of course, is no actual worldwide flood, as far as we know. I mean, there are certainly ups and downs, the Ice Age, so on. We could go and find stuff like that. But so, if Augustine is too smart to be confused that way, he reads these as metaphorical stories and then gives you an interpretation. Because stories, well, take Aesop's fables. We know that, you know, you don't have the rabbit racing